Live from Washington, it's Mr. Sports Travel. Before I tell you where I am in the District of Columbia, as I celebrate my 50th year, all 50 states plus the District of Columbia, I want you to take the $50 pledge with OperationFirstResponse.org. That's OperationFirstResponse.org. Charity with a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator. They help our veterans, service members, first responders and their families, especially when the government falls through or there's delays. They help those that are suffering from PTSD get the treatment that they need. They'll help pay those bills on a temporary basis while they get the treatment they need. And we need a donation. So please donate $50 to OperationFirstResponse.org, OperationFirstResponse.org. And in exchange, you get to meet me, Mr. Sports Travel, live in the flesh. I will help you plan your next sports road trip, or makes for a great gift. I'll help a friend of yours, a family member, for donating $50. Plan your next sports road trip. Or we can do it over video, or we can do it over the phone. Now, where is Mr. Sports Travel? As I say, celebrating each of the 50 states, sports history in each of the states. I've been traveling for more than 25 years, sports traveling that is, hence the nickname Mr. Sports Travel. And I'm obviously here in the Washington, D.C. area, if you've read the caption of the video. But where am I in Washington, D.C.? And also with these videos, I share with you my first sports memory in each destination, my most recent sports memory, and my favorite sports memory. Well, here in D.C., I'm at my first D.C. sports memory and my favorite sports memory. And this is Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Stadium within the city limits of Washington, D.C. Former home of the Washington football team of the National Football League, and former home of the Washington Nationals of Major League Baseball, who now have a new ballpark near the Navy Yard in Washington. This is probably, of all the still standing sports facilities in Washington, D.C., very specific to Washington, D.C., not suburban Maryland, not suburban Virginia, just here in the district. This is the most historic stadium, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Stadium, also known as RFK Stadium. For it was here that the Washington then Redskins had a bit of a dynasty in the 80s. They did very well on the football field. Joe Theismann, John Riggins, Doug Williams, they all played here at RFK Stadium. The future of this stadium, it's not looking too good, so this might be the last video you might see of Mr. Sports Travel in front of RFK Stadium. My first memory here, though, was not football. I never saw the NFL team play here. I've seen them play at their current home in Landover, Maryland. My first ever Washington, D.C. memory, the Washington Nationals played on the 4th of July. It was an 11 o'clock first pitch. The game went into extra innings. The Nationals were not very good that year, and they won on a walk-off. And I remember that because it was the 4th of July. I remember the unique nature of the 11 o'clock start. And I remember that day watching the fireworks on the National Mall that night, with the fireworks going over the Capitol. It was beautiful. So that is my first memory of Washington, D.C., seeing sports in Washington, D.C., and it's my favorite memory. Since that time, I've been to see the Capitals twice, the Wizards twice. I've seen the Nationals' new ballpark about 3 or 4 times. I've been to all the Division I colleges that are in the district, which you've got Georgetown, George Washington, American University, and Howard. I've been to their basketball and baseball if some of them play. They don't play, none of them play Division I football in terms of like the Alabama level football. Georgetown does have a football team, as does Howard. GW American do not. I've also seen a basketball game at Gallaudet University, which is a very unique school in DC. It's a school for the deaf. So it was interesting watching that basketball game, how they communicate, not by voice, but with hand signals, as many of those that are hearing impaired do. So I've been there as well, saw a basketball game there. In fact, that day was so cold, it was freezing. So most recent memory here in DC was actually a soccer game, DC United. Now, DC United used to play here, but DC United has a new soccer-specific stadium right near the new Nationals ballpark. Well, it's not new. The Nationals ballpark's been there probably, maybe 10 years now. But where the Nationals are, the 2019 World Series champions. Now, where DC United plays now also has been home of the XFL, which started in the COVID year and then canceled in 2020 because of COVID, right? They started like February and then March, COVID came in 2020. So when the XFL returns, it'll probably play where DC United plays. That was the last sporting event I saw. Later today, I'm going to go see some sports at Catholic University here in Washington. So we got my first sporting event here at RFK Stadium for the baseball. Most recent, DC United. Actually, that day I saw DC United. It was a day game for the Nationals. It was September 15th, 2019. Then I saw a football game at Gonzaga University High School, which just sent a couple of guys off to the National Football League. Of course, they went to college first. And then that night, I saw DC United play. It was a Wednesday, September 15th, 2019. Favorite memory in DC? I gotta go with my first. My first was the favorite. That July 4th walk-off here at RFK Stadium with the Nats. It was just special. There's nothing like a walk-off, right? That's why you never leave a sporting event early. Not over until it's over, as Yogi said. And then I think to top it off with the fireworks that night on the National Mall. 4th of July in Washington, you can't beat it. Please, if you've not done so already, please donate $50 today to OperationFirstResponse.org. That's OperationFirstResponse.org. I approach them. They're a great organization. They help our service vets, they help our first responders, and they help their families. And by donating $50, I'm happy to help you plan your sports road trip, or a friend of yours, a family member, whoever you designate. And we can do it in person. I can do it over the phone with you. We can do it over video, over email, however you want. Joe, where should I go this summer on my vacation? Where should I go this fall to see some college football or NFL? How do I map out? Mr. Sports Travel will help. So this has been the celebration of sports in the district, Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Live from Washington, Mr. Sports Travel signing off, where he has to get to, of course, another sporting event. And until we meet again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye on this sunny day, live from Washington.